Hey, I'm Andrew Zihmer, and all of a sudden I realized I should probably introduce myself and give a little bit of background of who I am, what I do, and just kind of who is this face you're looking at and voice you're listening to. So today I'm vice president in Zihmer Law Firm. I work there with my wife, Tracy, and I also then created and worked with her at Vertex League, which is a coaching mastermind community for law firm owners, specifically estate planning, elder law, and probate that want to elevate their law firms. But if you didn't know, I am an electrical engineer, not an attorney. So when I go way back, so let's kind of talk through that, some of these experiences, what I've done before, and how I use that in my day-to-day at the law firm, and then ultimately how I help other people, maybe like you, with those skills. So when I go way back, growing up, pretty normal childhood, I had great parents, I have a brother, and just kind of middle-class America here in the Pittsburgh area. And as I grew up, I always liked taking things apart and understanding how they worked. Growing up, I liked taking things apart and seeing how they functioned. I enjoyed, building and creating things. So it made sense that I would go to be an engineer. So I went to Gannon University up in Erie. It's where I learned to love the snow and kind of all things wintry. Did you have to when you go up to school up there? We would get tons and tons and tons of snow. And so a lot of people actually left after the first semester because it was like too much. And that's where I started electrical engineering, right? My whole math background, Calc 1, 2, 3, 4, differential equations, numerical analysis, linear algebra. I actually got a minor in math from doing all of that. I've got a good background in programming and in design, all kinds of cool courses. And so my first job out of school then was kind of what I thought was my dream job. It was in the defense world. I went to Northrop Grumman, right, one of the big three defense contractors, and I got into their PDP program where we rotated and learned and did all these cool things. Well, I got picked up for space systems. I got what's called a TSSCI clearance. I got polygraphed. I went into the secret squirrel world, as we would call it, and designed satellites, for lack of better terms, to float all over the sky and look down on all of the troublesome countries and help the military and government with things. So when I did that, I met a lot of great people, worked on a lot of really high-profile projects. And one of the big things I started getting into there was taking really, really, really complex concepts and breaking them down. At times it could be working with colleagues who wanted to understand how radar worked, and they were coming from a mechanical background or from like the rocket side. And they just go, hey, how does the radar work? So I would go teach them. And I'd give analogies and break it down. There were other times then where I was doing a lot in the experience world, where a lot of what I did was based on how would we use this over time and how could we make it as easy to use as possible while having full functionality. So whether it's designing custom tools, the interfaces, I spend a lot of my time taking, yes, it does something, but how do we make it do it better and easier? So that's where I started my career. And so that was down in the Baltimore area. I got to travel and do some really unique things. I missed home and I came back to Pittsburgh and went to a place called PKMJ Technical Services. It was a family-run business in the civilian nuclear power industry. I, again, had a lot of fun, worked with a lot of great people. And this is what started sparking my entrepreneurial bug. I got to know the guy who owned it, Paul. And Paul, if you would ever see one of these, you are the guy who got it all going for me. And he ran this business, and I started to get to understand the importance of sales and building relationships. Yes, we could do the engineering work, but it was Paul and a small handful of other people who could go build these relationships with these power plants and the owners of the utilities and have them trust us enough to give us a shot. Right? And I started seeing that early, just like at the law firms. Being able to do great legal work does not mean you have the chance to. Yes, we had a bunch of talented engineers. I was one of them. But we had to have the chance to do the work first. So I got to see that. I started getting to lead people there. I had a team. I think I got up to like 12 or 14 reports at one point. Started getting to work on my leadership skills and how to kind of get people all rowing in the same boat. From there, then I kind of missed the defense industry. So I went back to a place called Bettis Laboratory, and we designed, as the whole laboratory, the Naval Reactors program, right? So it was where the reactors for U.S. Navy submarines and aircraft carriers, we designed them. I was in their simulation group. So we would take whatever the real ones were and build simulators in like whole simulated rooms that were just like being in the submarine or aircraft carrier. So the sailors could go train and make sure they could do all the normal day-to-day, but then also all the emergencies and bad things that could happen, right? They could then train and do it. So if you've ever seen like those like aircraft simulators that they fly and move, we kind of did the same thing, but just a ship version. It was a really neat work. And again, there I learned more about project management, deadlines, how to run these long projects and make sure things happen, right? Because we would have to go build a new building and spec out the simulators and get the software models and all the deliverables for what the Navy wanted, and then create the manuals and how to use the system and get the first people qualified on it. And we had to do the entire thing and get it all pulled in and delivered on time, on budget, and working. You can do that kind of a project that's tens and tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars over years. We can do a probate case. Or yes, we can do some kind of larger case where sometimes people go, it's too hard to scope it. Yes, you can scope it. That's where a lot of my ability to scope proposals came from, the scopes of work. Again, that was like all I did was create, what are we going to do and how much is going to cost? And rolling it back in. While I was there, I had met Tracy, and she was a lawyer and was talking about opening her own law firm one day. And that all came to fruition in 2017. She said, I'm going to start Zihmer Law Firm. I think this is cool. From my past experience at PKMJ, I think this was kind of neat. I had seen it and I went, I want to support you. So I started taking on anything that I could just to help her out. That meant a lot of QuickBooks, finance, the accounting. I stood up the initial website. I started dabbling in SEO. Building out, what were potential expenses and what was forecasting, what could, if we were doing something over a couple of months, what might that look like in the future? Again, that was something I've always done. So I didn't find it to be anything kind of challenging. It was just what I did. And so it started growing and growing and growing. And I realized I liked it. And a couple months in, we talked and said that, I wanted to leave engineering work with her full time. And we had a 5-year plan. So that would have been 2022. Well, fast forward to December 2017. It's a couple days after Christmas. And Tracy comes to me and goes, I don't know if we'll get there. And even if we do, we'll just get there a heck of a lot faster if you come in. So just come in now. Right. And I'm this like hyper conservative electrical engineer who loves my spreadsheets and all of the details of like tracking, planning, and understanding. And we had a 5-year plan. So this was not cool for me. So I nicely like freaked out. I mean, I didn't freak out at her, but like inside, I'm freaking out. Like, what the fuck? This is not how this is supposed to go. So I did not like it. She said, I'm gonna give you a couple of days because I need a you. So I either need you in full time or I have to go hire a you. I'll never forget what she told me. She said, I believe in you, I believe in us, and we will figure it out. So I thought about it for a few more days and went, told my boss, put in my notice. And March 15th, I left engineering for the last time, came into Zihmer Law Firm full time. And by the way, we weren't making enough money to cover both of our salaries, right? And we were going through savings and scrimping and pinching. And we had to figure it out. Like that Viking myth says, when they would come on shore, they would burn their ships, so they had no way out. I had no way out. This wasn't a side hustle anymore. This wasn't a do your best in nights and weekends. This was it. And we did. It took months and months. It was a ton of hard work, but we started growing the firm. We were making more money. We had more fun. Things got more comfortable. And we got to a place and we went, let's really grow it. And so then that was, through 2018, we kept growing and scaling, figuring more things out. And a couple of things stand out. So in 2018, there were 4 of us. It was me, Tracy, a paralegal, and an admin. And we were doing about $350,000 in revenue. And we were making good money. We were paying people well. Like, it was a good system. Now, I fast forward then to 2021, same size team, me, Tracy, paralegal, admin. We were doing 970, just shy of $1 million a year. We got that good at building systems. And that was a lot of hard work for me and Tracy. During that same time scaling then, you can imagine having more clients that was. We got much more project management and starting to now track who was working on which pieces, where are they, and where do they need our help. It wasn't just that Tracy knew every single thing anymore or needed to. It was let the system start to control itself. But we had to build those. We also moved into much better marketing and branding, building offers, doing things more unique than maybe just some of our competitors. We moved into the digital advertising space. We started to understand how to utilize search engines. We continued to leverage Tracy's relationships and the referral side, we also then started putting more effort into our client journey and experience to help them want to refer back to us. So we kept growing that and growing that. In 22, we finally broke the $1 million mark, which was just a big pat on the back of hard work. I think kind of in the early years, we didn't know if that was ever possible, or was kind of a goal of it's someday. So to do that then in 22 was really special. And we keep going up every single year since the first year has been record revenue, record profit, record owner comp and benefit, record, time off keeps going up. The early days, remember we took a trip to Disney World in 2017 and Tracy had to take phone calls and meetings from the park because if we didn't take a couple of those, we weren't making any money. 2018, it was the same kind of thing. Yeah, we had a team, but they couldn't do much without us. So we could take a few days off here and there. In 2024, I just wrapped up. I took 67 days off. I work about 3.7 days per week now. So when people kind of go, well, as you get bigger, you're going to have all of this like tied to the office and chained to it. That's not true. We get to do all kinds of really fun things because of the growth, because we have a team in place now, because we can trust them, because we've delegated to them, because we lead them and we work together. So most of my role today now is in marketing, sales, right? And kind of that front end. How do we get people in? How do we get them excited to want to work with us? I still work with Tracy a lot in that systems and how do we best define ways to do work or streamline or make things more effective. That is a lot of my time is, hey, how do we take something we do and how do we make it better? And then also looking forward to the future, right? Okay, yes, this is where we are, but how do we still 2x, 5x, 10x and keep growing and keep, all the exciting things happening that we're capable of? Through this, then Vertex League was created. I like sharing all of this with people like you. The Vertex was created as was a mastermind and coaching group that said, let me take all my lessons learned and with Tracy and let's share them. So we have the group for the people who really want to just dive in with just tons of lessons. I mean, we've got hundreds of hours of lessons recorded and then weekly calls and mastermind groups, all kinds of great things. But we also now have the ability to do things like this, videos like this and podcasts and things where we can share more and more information with more people to just help. And some of you, yes, will then say, you know what, I like all of this and this is what you guys give for free. I want the paid version. Awesome. We'd love to talk to you and see if it's fit. But for everybody else listening, I truly just want to help you with your firms. Tracy and I were talking about legacy the other day, and I really, truly enjoy and get real happiness from helping others. It was hard in the early days. We've solved a lot of problems. I look back and go, that's not a hard problem now. I don't want it to be a hard problem for you either. So that's what a lot of this is going to be about, is simply sharing and trying to put you into a better place so you can learn from my mistakes, so you can shortcut success. And nothing makes me happier than one of the people in Vertex starts their law firm and they get to 3, 4, 5, 600,000 faster than us, 800,000 faster, cross 1 million faster. Well, that means I'm helping. That means I'm taking my lessons, giving it to them. They're putting in the work and going, I can get there quicker. I can get there better. That to me is the point of progress. What is the point of everybody recycling and starting over every single time and relearning everything? No, it's about sharing. Think about how many books you've read, how many lessons, whether it was college or law school or high school, or just things that interest you. You learned because of somebody else being willing to share it. I simply want to share with you so you can propel and move yourself ahead further and faster. So that's a little bit about who I am, what I do, and kind of how I am here. And the goal of these things here is just to be able to help you and get you on the right track so you can do more, bigger, better things, have more time with your families, more money to do the things that you want to, whether to invest, pivot with your career, just buy the things, or I'm gonna be honest with you, even just the freedom to do what you want costs money, whether it's making sure that you can pay for a team, pay for people for the projects at home, pay for vacations, things cost money. And no, money does not buy happiness, but money does give you the freedom to go pursue whatever it is that makes you happy. I am here to help facilitate that. So thanks for checking this out. Hopefully this was helpful for a little bit of who the heck is Andrew Zihmer and what does he do? That's me.